Today I want to talk to you guys kind of in detail about the whole psilocybin therapy that I've been doing. I've done 3 so far, and I'm doing my 4th one next weekend. I'll give you like the technical stuff. So first of all, it's run by a couple. He is a functional medicine doctor, and the wife is I'll be honest, I don't know exactly what her title is, but she's in the mental health profession. And they have a group of people who are also, like, one's a psychotherapist, the other guy's an integration therapist. He runs a ketamine clinic in the city. There are people that do breath work and body work. It's all different people in the healing arts, whatever you want to call it. It's also really regimented. You have to eat a certain diet that week. You can't drink the night before. You really can't be on anything. I even had to get off of my allergy medication for a week beforehand because I know a few of my friends want to do it, but they're on heavy anti-anxiety, antidepressant medicine, and you have to, depending on how much you take and how often you've taken it, you would have to be off that for 3 to 6 months before being able to do this. So it's not a willy-nilly thing. So you really have to talk to them about everything that you're taking. So yeah, and you're fasting that day. I do an overnight. They do day journeys, but the overnight journey is so much nicer. It's run out of their home. It's not in Manhattan. They have a beautiful property, beautiful house, and you go there. The first 2 journeys I took, there was about 20 people there. This last journey I took was 11 people, which was a nicer, more intimate group. So you go to their house, like you have to eat, you can eat like a hard-boiled egg that morning and no caffeine. And you get there around 4 o'clock and you're mingling with people. It's very, this group is very community based. It's always been different people since I've been there. You come and go, like you don't have to, it's not like you have to join a package. It's not a cult. They're not, their whole thing is like, we can't heal you, you are healing yourself. So you get there, you mingle with people, you talk to people, everyone's really nice, of course. And then they meet with you individually. And it's all different, like it's psilocybin mushrooms, but it's all different kinds. And listen, I'm not a big research person, so I can research what's the difference between white lily and SK, but I don't know. And honestly, I don't care. I'm not the kind of person that needs to know the in and out, the every single little bit detail to actually have a good experience. So they meet you, they talk to you, and everyone gets a different type, a different dose. Like, I don't do recreational drugs, so I'm getting a different dosage than the 25-year-old guy next to me who's 180 pounds and does mushrooms on his own. So it's really very safe. No one's vomiting. No one's like walking around like zombies. It's not like that at all. So there's music playing, very, meditative music like I did on that Spotify playlist. It's actually a different one. It's called Journey, if you guys actually want to hear the music, because the whole mood is very important. Okay, so they give you, it's in a little pill, and it's all crushed up and it's in a pill, and it takes a little bit for it to kick in. You're on a mat on the floor, and with the 11 people, it was really nice because everyone had space around them. And we're doing it outside in the summer. They have a beautiful pool and there's trees, and it's, it's just amazing. So you're on a mat, you're lying down, you bring your own comforter, and you have an eye mask, and you're lying down, and we do breathing exercises just to kind of get your oxygen pumping and things through your system. And then you're in it. So there are guides there, and if you need something, if you need help, if you want to talk through something, you raise your hand. You're not really supposed to get up, and they come over and they talk to you. Okay, and then I'll get in deeper to what I do. But so then you do that. They take your phones when you get there. I don't have a watch. I have no idea how long it's going on. but it starts around 7ish, and then afterwards you're allowed to get up and leave that space. They really highly encourage you not to interact with other people who are in their journey. You can tell when someone's in it. So like everyone can have their own experience. But afterwards we get up, there's food, because you haven't eaten since noon, some light food, and then you can mingle with other people. There's a fire pit. It's a beautiful house, and you can share your experiences with other people. Then we all go to sleep. I never sleep the night with these things, but then the next morning we all have breakfast together, and then we do what's called integration, because they really stress that everyone's experience can help everyone else, because the bottom line is we're all basically the same, right? And a lot of the people are there for the same reason I'm there, because I don't feel like I'm good enough, I don't feel like I'm lovable, you know. So hearing other people talk about that is helpful, you know, because you can look at someone else and be like, why do you feel like that? And then it's like, well, if you have so much empathy for them, you should have it for yourself. So we talk through it, and they really, and that's much nicer with 11 people and 20, because 20 people, it's like 3 hours. But the question is always like, what did you get from it? You know, and the integration is really important, because a lot of what they're teaching you is how to reframe things and how to let go of all of this preconditioned thoughts that we have in our head, these stories that we've told ourselves based on the trauma we experienced as children or any traumatic experience we've had, and the stories we tell ourselves because of it. You know, I am not worthy, I am not lovable, I am not good enough, I'm a bad person, whatever. And they talk you through it. And so it really is not just about what you experience while you're high. It's how you respond to it. It's everything that goes on while you're in this journey. It's how you respond to it, and then how you process everything afterwards. One thing that they talk about is that wording is really important. Like, I've said, you know, I've been and I am suicidal, but that's not true. That's not me. And so I've reframed it to say, I have suicidal thoughts. I've had suicidal thoughts. Or anything else in the I ams, it's not I am this bad thing. It's, you know, I'm never going to explain it as best as I should. But I'll tell you a little about my experience. So a friend of mine asked me, do you feel lighter? No, I don't feel lighter. I feel it's actually, you know, trying to heal yourself and doing this kind of emotional work is really heavy. It's really hard, and but it's an investment, and I have to do it. I mean, you don't have to do it. You know, there's plenty of broken, awful people out there that live in their ego and don't want to confront themselves, and they don't want to really deal with the demons in their head, made, you know, self-made or not. So it is really hard work. Someone asks, how have I felt? So yes, I feel better than I felt 6 months ago, because I feel like I'm getting all the tools that I need to process my emotions, to deal with my emotions, and to frame things in a different way. But it's not easy. It's not like, you know, I've done 3 and now I'm like, oh, like I can't wait to go again, but I'm not, you know, I'm crying the whole time. So, okay, so what's it like? So everybody's experience is very, very different, but I will give you my experience. So the first night I went, and here's the thing, you can feel it, you have to drop in, right? You're getting high, but you're not like, it's not like you're drunk. It's a hard thing to explain. The only way I could say is like you feel kind of like squishy. But you've got the mask on, you're in your blanket, and it's because you really want to get out of your body and into your head. The whole point of doing the mushrooms is to connect to yourself. you're really connecting to your subconscious. You're having these deep conversations with yourself. You know, in therapy, they're always like, you know, no one can give you the answers. All the answers are inside you. And this just gives you, it like shows you the door to really have a deep conversation with yourself, because your subconscious knows everything. Your subconscious is not, is basically love. I mean, it's basically the essence of who you are, and it knows the truth. That's the other thing about this journey. We tell ourselves lies all the time. I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, this person's better than me, this person's better looking, this person has more, we tell these lies to ourselves all the time, but we rarely tell ourselves the truth. So a lot of it is about replacing these lies with the truth, that I am good enough, and look at all these wonderful things I've done, and I have friends, and I am lovable, and because I have all this proof. So anyway, like I was trying to explain it to someone, that when you're in it, you can feel it. I mean, you can definitely feel it. And the first night, okay, like I said, so it's almost like a line in the sand, right? I'm always, you know, using metaphors about the ocean. So it's like you're on the beach and you're on the sand and the ocean is in front of you, and that's what the journey is. Like you can see the ocean, you can see the water, but you have to get into it. Like they always say, dropping in. And the first time I saw it, now here's the thing, it wasn't like a, what do they call, like a psychedelic experience. It was not like a dream for me. It's basically like if you close your eyes and you picture something, like I can picture the dog that I had growing up, but I see him, but I can't see him. It's not like a picture, right? So that's what it was for me. So there was no color, there was no like, it wasn't like I was in a movie, it did not feel like a dream. And I was not emotional at all. I didn't know what was going on. Like a picture of a person I know came up, and I was like, this isn't about that person. I don't want to think about that person. That's not why I'm here. And it faded away, and then it came back. And then again, I was like, I don't want to talk about that person. This is not why I'm here. And again, there's like this line, right? So like your subconscious is over there, and I'm here with myself, you know, the people on the bus. And I said to myself, like, okay, well, if that person's coming up, maybe you should just let it happen. And then the voice of God came. That's the only way I can describe it. And it said, stop trying to control this. Stop trying to control this. And then I had a few more visions, and then I woke up, and I felt like I was devastated because I felt like nothing happened. Now, part of this whole thing, part of this whole experience, like I said, is not only what happens while you're in it, but your response afterwards. So the stop trying to control this, yeah, no shit, I'm a control freak. And the funny thing is, I didn't even realize that was true. Because I have to be in control of work. So how is that a bad thing? It makes me really good at my job, to be able to control a person, to be able to control the environment, how I'm setting up the environment. So I never thought that was a bad thing. So the funny thing is, you go into this thinking, well, okay, because I came in with a list of all the things that I know I'm having issues with. And the main thing is my deep, deep sense of lack of self-esteem at work and even with friends, but like on a deeper, more intimate level. Which I didn't realize was a problem, because I've been basically working on myself my whole life, and I have built up my confidence. For me to be like, yeah, listen, I've been doing this 17 years, I've been in New York Times, I've been in blah, 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 you know, to talk like that about myself took years of work. So I thought that translated to everything, and it doesn't. Work Laura is different than, you know, personal Laura. So I came in with all these things that I knew I needed to work on, and but you know what, your subconscious knows the truth. So she's given me a lot of different things to think about. So anyway, so I didn't think it worked. So I wasn't emotional during it. I was very emotional afterwards, and then I realized, you know, you just kind of go through it again and again and again in your head, what happened and what was said, and it just becomes clearer. Now, the second journey I had, Oh, hey, Kia. This is my friend from high school. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for sharing. This type of deep emotional work is not easy, but so needed. You're amazing. Thank you. Thank you. So the second journey, like I said, I felt really good afterwards, like a week after the first one, because I realized it did happen. It just didn't happen the way you thought it would happen. So you'd think it didn't happen or it was bad, which again is another like huge lesson, because then I can go back at different instances of my life and experiences and see where that happened, and realize like that's a problem I have. You know, if it doesn't happen the way I thought it would happen, then it was bad or it didn't happen, and that's just not true. So sorry, I don't want to be crying through this whole thing. So anyway, so the second one, and they give you different, I'm just going to grab tissue. Hold on. Okay, so, and they give you different ones each time you go. So then the second one I did, it was outside. So it's so nice to be outside in the summer, and that time I was really emotional beforehand, and so unfortunately my mind was racing so much that I couldn't drop in. Sorry. I apologize. Okay, sorry. So the second one, I could feel it, right? So it's like, so you're at the ocean, you see the water, you see all this stuff happening in your mind, you know? You have all these feelings, but my mind was racing so hard because I was really forcing myself, like, just relax, let it happen. You know, I had this deep sense that I was doing it wrong. You know, it's another thing. I like direction. You know, I did, you know, it's a little acting. So I like to be directed. I like it when I'm doing something and someone gives me very specific instructions, like, okay, you're doing it, like, okay, now twist your body or do it, you know. So I like a lot of instructions. So I kept feeling I was doing it wrong. So it happened, but my mind was racing so much that it wasn't this profound experience. It was almost like someone had pictures, like actual printed out pictures, and were flipping them, because I saw so many things really, really quickly that I just couldn't drop in. So it was pretty quick, and again, you know, I was a little upset, but I was like, all right, well, I'm here and I'm gonna learn something from it. You know, and of course I learned a lot from it, but I don't, and then you go to sleep. I don't sleep. I can't sleep at these places, so I'm just up all night. Now this last one, now, okay, this is the other thing. They say you could do it as many times as you want. They recommend once a month. If you go once a month for 2 years, you can rewire your brain. You're rewiring the way your brain talks to itself. So I'm committing to go. I'm actually going every 3 weeks. They say every 4. I want to go every 3. I would love to do every 2, but I might sneak in a couple extra. But so I'm going to be doing this every 3 weeks. Oh, hold on. Sorry, my client is texting me about a fraud alert on her credit card that I use for a project. Okay, sorry. So I'm going every 3 weeks. So, okay, so this last time, okay, here's the other thing. So a client friend of mine found these people, and we're doing it together, though she wasn't at the last one. But they play this music while we're journeying, and we realized that it's just a Spotify playlist that one of the psychotherapist has on his Spotify. So I went in and I pulled that music, and I pulled different music. I don't know if you can hear the music that I'm playing right now. And by doing this, I've always had deep conversations with myself. I really have, but this has like brought me to another level. And that's kind of the point of it. They want you to get so in touch with yourself that you can get back there even when you're not on the mushrooms. So I haven't really been sleeping the last few months. Like I'll go to sleep early and then I'll wake up at 1, 2, 3 in the morning, and then I'm up until like 6. So what I have been doing is I just start playing the music, and then I can kind of get back into that state of really being honest with myself and talking myself through, all these things that I'm thinking. So this last journey, I've realized, I have to stop controlling it. I have to stop wanting it to be something and trust that it's going to be what it is. It's like I've realized, when I'm working with my clients, if they don't give me control and if they don't allow me to do what I know needs to be done, nothing's going to get done. So I've realized, okay, and the funny thing is, months ago when I was really deep in this depression and really just didn't know what I was going to do and how I was going to really get out of it, so I just allowed myself to feel it, because I realized if I can just feel these emotions and deal with it, then something's got to come out of it, right? If I can just trust myself, if I can hit rock bottom and trust that I'm not going to harm myself, then once you hit rock bottom, the only other way is up, right? So, and during that time, I was like, I need me for me. I need what I do for my clients. I need that version to help me mentally. And I've realized when you ask for something and you're very specific about it, you can get it. So that's what this whole mushroom journey is. It's basically getting yourself in touch with your subconscious to help you let go of all the bullshit that you're holding on to. It's not easy though. A friend of mine, I don't know if I asked you, it's like, oh, do you feel lighter? No, I mean, I'm uncovering a lot of stuff and I'm journaling all about it. I'm writing every lesson down, and I have lessons that I just come up with each day. Sometimes I'll just have a quiet moment to myself and I'll just lie down and start thinking and coming up with these revelations that I just keep writing down. Amazing insights. I've struggled with some of these same emotions. Yeah, it's really fucking hard. And even, Kia, like, you look at you, right? And guys, you should go on her page. She's a beautiful woman. She's, stunning. She's a healer. A beautiful family. And it's like, why would you be upset about anything, right? It's very easy to look at people and think, well, their life must be so great. I've always told my clients, they're like, oh, your apartment is so perfect and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, they're like, you don't have any mess? I'm like, no, I have a mess, but my mess is in my head. It's just not, my mess is not physical stuff. My mess is my mental bullshit. So I tend to lose my train of thought. So anyway, so let's go back to the third journey. So before the third journey, I was just really trying to tell myself, like, you have to relax, you have to trust the process, you have to trust that, that these people are going to give you the specific type. Because, everyone talks, oh, did you get SK? Did you get this? Well, I got that, and it was so amazing. So you're like, well, I want that next time. And I have to just remind myself, like, look, I don't know anything about this. I don't know. These people have been doing it for years and years and years. They know what they're doing. You have to just trust that you know the answers inside of you, but you have to trust that these people are facilitating you in a way that is going to get you there. So, and this was the first time I did it by myself. My friend actually wasn't with me. And I got there and I've got, there's only 11 people, so I got a nice space in the corner all to myself. So I got a nice space all to myself, because when you're doing it, the first time we did it, it was like 20 people, and they split it in these 2 different rooms, and there was literally a person right here and another person right here. But when you're in it, you're not even, you don't even like hear them or see them and anything, so it's fine. But this time I got a space nice to myself. Missed the start. Can you recap what you're doing in 10 seconds? Yeah, I've had a really rough year mentally, and I've decided to do psilocybin treatment, which is mushroom therapy. It's guided. It's basically you're high and you're having like a trip, but it's in a way that's very controlled. And the whole point of taking the mushrooms is to actually have a deep conversation with your subconscious. And it really helps you work out difficult memories. It helps you work out all the conditioned thinking that we all have, the conditioned thinking of, it basically all comes down to all the trauma in our lives, like all this shit, this conditioned thinking happens between 0 to 7 years. So, your parents didn't love you the way you wanted to, maybe you were abused in some way. And so we think of all these things in our head. I grew up in a very, listen, did I have the worst experience of anyone out there? Absolutely not. Did a lot of people have it a lot worse than me? 100%. But a lot of what they talk about in these, because it's also talk therapy, is it's all trauma. You can drown in an inch of water, you can drown in the ocean, you're still drowning, right? So they really encourage us not to, let me turn this music down a little bit, not to compare your experiences. But I grew up in a house that was very, my parents fought all the time. They were so fucking angry at each other about their own, through their own traumas, about what they experienced as kids, right? So I felt very, I'm the youngest of 5, but it's not like I was close with my siblings. It was very much every man for themselves in the house, and we were all close in age. So it was very scary, very unsettling. It was, and of course, being the youngest, when your dad says, it wasn't my day to have 5 kids, of course you blame yourself. When your mother tells you, oh, the only reason you were born, and then not in a mean way. She didn't say this meanly. She said this as a joke in front of the entire fucking family, at a big family function, thinking this was such a charming story, that when she gave birth to my brothers, who were identical twins, she didn't realize she was having twins, and she asked the nurse to come over and, while I'm in the hospital, can we shut down the factory? And back in 1972, you needed your husband's permission to have your tubes tied, which is probably where we're heading off to now with this fucking Supreme Court. So that's how Laura was born. And thankfully, after, in 1974, by 1974, that law had changed, and so that's why I'm the youngest. So, these are not great stories to tell a child. She should have never shared any of this shit with me. But she didn't say it like in a mean way. I hate you, and that's the only reason you're born. But still, it's not good for a kid's self-esteem to hear these things and to think these things. So anyway, a lot of it all comes from that, and they weren't like terribly encouraging. I was always a good student, but they weren't very involved. I would say like my mom was very aloof. Like she was dealing with her own. I mean, look, she woke up one day and she had 5 kids and a husband that doesn't help, and like is a very traditional 50s kind of guy. Like I go to work, you take care of the kids, you take care of the house, and don't bother me with anything. So they were both dealing with their own stuff, but this is how the stuff this is what they call like generational trauma. Like all of this bullshit just keeps getting passed on, and it's up to each one of us to break the cycle. And a lot of people don't or can't, and or they don't know how. And this is one of the reasons why I never took antidepressants. I mean, I was never even on the pill because, I saw you can it increases your chances of having a stroke, and my dad had many strokes, and his mother has strokes, and I was like, I just don't want any of that in my body. And I'm not going to have a debate on whether to take antidepressants or not, because it's obviously different people have different reasons for taking them, and I'm not judging anyone, but I don't want to feel better. I want to be better. And if I'm taking something to numb the feelings or to like stop them, how am I going to deal with it? So I would always thought, you know, as a little kid or whatever, you know, at any age, I'm 48 now, like sometimes you should be depressed, and let's talk about it, and let's see why, because if there's a legit reason to be upset, then let's deal with it and either work through it or fix it, or okay, you're depressed about work, then let's fix work. Like, I don't want to just feel a little better. I want to live better and I want to do better. So that's what all this therapy is. By the way, I'm also going to my acupuncturist, afterwards. And he's a miracle worker. He does pulse diagnostics. So I see him after the journey, so he can like kind of settle me, and he notices difference in me every time I come. Okay, so the last journey, right? So I was prepping myself. I'm like, just relax. And then the second journey also, like I was telling you, my mind was racing and I couldn't like drop in. I remember I was lying down, and you're supposed to like kind of put your hand and like, you know, and I just kept twitching, like I couldn't get comfortable. And as I'm sitting there, at one point I just started twitching, and one of the guides told me afterwards, he's like, I saw you, and he's like, you were just like, you know, I kept moving, and you know, and that's okay. So as I'm doing that, I see my subconscious, because you see yourself. I mean, I see myself in them. I saw it in the first one, I saw it in the second one. And she was just there like, all right, well, we'll just wait for you to get comfortable and then we can start. And that's another big lesson in my life. It's like, I have set my life up to be so comfortable for myself, right? I went to the college I wanted to go to against my parents' wishes. I moved to Brooklyn. I lived by myself against financial. I should have had a roommate this whole time, not this whole time, but in the beginning, because I couldn't afford to live by myself, but I knew I couldn't afford mentally to live with someone. I've started this business, which is me in total control. My apartment is the way it is because I want to be comfortable. Home is very important to me, and I want to be comfortable. And I've realized that's not always the best way to live. You know, it's okay to be uncomfortable. And afterwards, you know, one of the therapists said, you know, sit with the uncomfortableness. It's okay to be uncomfortable. And he said, what's the guy that broke the speed of sound? Carl Jung or something? I'm going to say the name wrong. But he was saying while he was flying, right, and you're trying to break the sound barrier, the plane is really like crazy. So every other pilot before him, once they encountered that turbulence, they stopped and they just like, it was like, well, that's got to be bad. And he sat through the uncomfortableness and sat through the turbulence. And that's how he got to the other side. And he said when he got to the other side, it was just completely, my hair looks such a mess. See, I'm uncomfortable because my hair doesn't look good on my Instagram Live. So I'm going to fuss with it. So, you know, all the other pilots couldn't sit through that turbulence. And none of them broke the sound barrier. And he did. And on the other side, it was just like, it was like glass. It was smooth and it was amazing. So I try to think of that even in my own, if I wake up and I'm feeling sad about something, it's like, well, sit in that. Let's sit in that for a minute. We don't always have to get a cookie or have a cocktail or whatever, or distract myself on Instagram or whatever. Sit with it for a minute and let's see where maybe it could take me somewhere else, or I could learn something from this. So, so this third journey, I was feeling better and I was like, all right, I'm just going to relax into this. And I'm not going to have expectations of what's going to happen, because everyone around me is like, you know, it was like a dream and they're seeing these visions and it just sounds like so much better than mine, right? But you can't compare, and everyone's there for a different reason. So though I am a little bit jealous, I hope one day I'll have that experience, but that's just, you know, sprinkles on top. So I'm sitting there and I got dropped in very quickly. It was like, it happened. I didn't even know it was happening. There was no a line I had to cross. I just fell in very quickly. Like they say, you just drop into it and you can feel it. And even right now talking about it, I have a hard time remembering exactly what happened. I'd have to check my notes. But the biggest part of it was I was extremely emotional during it. I was just hysterically, I wasn't emotional during the other ones. I was just in it, and then afterwards I'm emotional for the response. But this one, I was extremely emotional. I pulled the guide over. This wonderful woman named Casey, she came over and we were talking through it. And then they always encourage you to just lie back down. Like, try not to get up, try not to sit up. Like, we can talk you through it, but once you start talking, you're going to come out of it. So you should really just, So, but I'm like shaking, I'm crying, I could barely speak, but I was speaking. And then she's like, okay, go back down. So I go back down and I'm out of it. Now it's still in your system, but you can't get back in, if that makes any sense. Like it's in your system for hours. Like even afterwards when you try to get up, you can barely walk. But I couldn't get back in, and I was so desperate to get back in because it was so powerful that I got up and I went over to the head woman, and I was telling her, like, you have to give me something else. Like, I want to get back in. And she's like, I can't. I've already given you. Like, she's not going to overdose you, right? So she's like, I can't give you anything else. You have to just relax and calm down and go back. And we talked for a few minutes. And I was, physically shaking and crying and everything. And she's like, just relax and go back. Very nicely, not like in a mean way. So I go back, and I'm sitting there, and I'm crying, and I'm talking to myself. And I said, you need to go back there and ask for help. Because that's the lesson in tonight. You need to ask for help. She's not going to give you help because she can't. It's not about what she's going to give you. It's about you standing up and saying, I'm here and I need help. So I went back to her and I told her that. I was like, listen, I isolate. So, because as a kid, I wasn't allowed to have problems. I wasn't allowed to go to my parents for anything. Like, I would either get yelled at or they would start crying. Like, my mom would start crying or she would yell at me. So it was always very, like, you need to deal with this on your own. You need to figure it out. So when you grow up like that, you solve your own problems, and you don't ask for help. So I'm really trying not to do that anymore. And the funny thing is, in the beginning of the year, when I was really, really low, I was reaching out to friends and family and, like asking for help. And I realized that most of them weren't helping at all because it's hard to talk to someone when they are having suicidal thoughts, and most of the things you tell them actually make it worse. So I realized I have to stop asking for help. I have to figure this out on my own, which was fine. But I got up and I went back to her and I said, look, and this is, I can barely speak, I can barely breathe, I'm like shaking, and I was like, I'm asking for help, and that's all this is. I need help, and this is the lesson in tonight. Like, it's okay to ask for help, but it's also okay to know that I am all the help I need. But I'm having outside people support me. Like, that was a big thing in this last month. It's like, begging for help, like someone, like even my chiropractor, I'm like, I know the work you can do, help me. And he wasn't doing it in the way that I thought he would, but he's doing it the way that he can. So that's another huge lesson that I've got in between this third journey and now, is that, people can only help you so much. And if you have this expectation of, well, if someone's going to do it this way, but people can only help you in the way they can help you. And my acupuncturist is helping me. But and these people at the mushroom journey, all these people, they are helping me, but I have to do it. So that's another one of my big lessons that I've learned. And a lot of these lessons you think, well, yeah, no shit. Like, that's a big lesson. Yeah, this is a big lesson for me. It's like, managing your expectations of not only yourself, but of other people and what they can do and what you need to do is a big thing for a lot of people, I think. It's, I can only help my clients so much. I can't get rid of their stuff for them. I can't make the decision of what they should keep and what they should get rid of, or how they should have their home should feel, that's best for them. But I'm facilitating a process. So, so yeah, that's a huge lesson that I got from it. And is any of this helpful? Anybody have any questions? Right now it's illegal. This therapy is illegal, but and there are some bad people out there who don't know what they're doing and they want to capitalize it. And so you really have to be careful if you do want to research it and find someone to do it. These people are just really so nice and helpful. And again, it's not just about this one thing. It's not like you take it and then that's it. It's really all about, like, they have maybe I'll publish what they have, all these books that they say to read and all these different kinds of therapy, because everything they're telling us it's not them, it's like the collective unconscious. It's things that other people have figured out, and it's just kind of guiding you through it. But the wording is very important, and that's one thing, because when you're in integration and you're saying something, like for instance, this one woman said, she had gotten divorced, and then she just got out of this other relationship, and she's like, I want a man to catch me when I fall. And they said, well, why are you going to fall? Like, why would you phrase it that way? Like, why do you think you're going to fall? Why would, like, what does that even mean? And she's like, well, like if something goes wrong, and they're like, well, what's going to go wrong? Like, so a lot of it's, it's like, okay, well, I want someone to support me. That's a little better than someone to catch me when I fall. Because when I fall is a declarative statement. Like, it's going to happen when is, like, I am suicidal. I am not enough. It's like, well, no, I feel like sometimes I'm not enough. I have suicidal thoughts, but that's not who I am. That's not the essence of who I am. That's not my being. So, a lot of it is really that. And when I go through my journal and I write everything out, the last time with this knowledge of, like, you really have to be careful of all the wording that you put out there and what you're telling yourself. So I went back through the journal, because it's on my computer, and I changed a lot of the wording, because some of it was like you blah blah blah. It's like, no, me, I. And when I'm making sure that all the wording is very positive and not like this is going to happen. What else? The other part of this therapy is not, like I said, it's not only about you stop telling lies to yourself, these lies of I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, this person's better than me, whatever, I'll never be happy, blah, blah, blah. It's about reminding yourself of the truth. And that's what a lot of the subconscious is. It's like, thank you for being so transparent. This helps. Thank you. I hope so. I hope I'm not just like rambling on, which I do, but hopefully some of it's good. So it's not only about confronting the lies that we tell ourselves, but it's about seeing the truth. And when you're in this, when you're on these mushrooms, you are speaking directly to your subconscious, and they are speaking directly to you. There are times, like, if you just let your mind go and you're there, and like, I'm literally talking to myself. And by the way, like, the best looking version of myself I've ever seen. I'm like, what is her filter? Because she looks great. And she's telling me the truth. And showing me. It was like, the first journey, it was like, because I thought nothing happened, and because she came up and she said, what if they were taken out of the equation? I'm like, okay. And then a picture of my mother comes up, goes away. My dad comes up, my siblings, and then I was like, okay. And then this other person came up and said, he is love. And then it showed me all these different, like, playing with my dog growing up, and like a couple of other little scenes. And then I woke up and I was like, what the hell is that? What the fuck was that? And then it took me a few days to realize, like, oh, okay, what if they were taken out of the equation of you're not lovable and you're not good enough? Because an equation is not one, right? It has to be two factors. It has to be one one thing plus one thing, right? An equation is multiple things. So in this equation in my head of me not being lovable, there's family, there's friends, there's school, there's blah, 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 blah. So just take them out. Just take the family out. And what's left? All that's left is love. So I wouldn't have come up with that. I mean, like, doing these journeys, it's like a year of therapy in one night, or a weekend, really, because you're really processing it for a couple of days. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that happens, and it's deep. It's really hard. I wouldn't say, like, someone's like, oh, it's fun. I'm like, no, it's not fun. It's nice to be around people. It's nice to be around people who are vulnerable and trying, and everyone's at a different level. Everyone's there for a different reason. Some people are just there for the experience. Oh, I just thought it sounded like fun. Okay, well, good for you. They have a nice experience, and they're always very nice. But yeah, it's hard. But the more I do it, the more I'm realizing that I can tap into this feeling when I need to, and the music really helps. So I don't know what more can I say about it. I'm going on my next one in next week, next Friday, and it's overnight. I think I said that it's overnight. The day one, you do it, and then they wake you up after a few hours, and they're like, okay, get up, and we do integration, and then you leave. That sounds awful. Even though I really do not sleep, I pretty much get maybe an hour. It's still better to have that. What gram dosage given less than 2? It's like the pill is like this big. It's like the tiniest little capsule that's filled with like ground up. I had, I think, white lily and SK or something. I don't really know. Like, it's not a lot. It's not a lot. And most people get two doses. They give you one, and then for like a half hour, 20 minutes. I have no idea how long. So you get 2, but I don't know. Thank you for sharing. It's so helpful to hear about your journey with this. Thank you. I relate so deeply to you. Super grateful for your posts and videos. That's really, thank you. That makes me happy. I think it's important that people share this shit. Sounds like 400 milligram or less. Yeah, I don't even think it's a gram. Like, it's so, yeah, milligram is less than a gram. Yeah, it's not a lot. But listen, I'm not a guy, I'm not a big person, and I don't take it recreationally, so I don't know what the dose of other people are getting, and they have all different kinds, and they're sitting there talking to you, and so maybe some of the pills are bigger, or I know there's different strengths in terms of, like, oh, if you got that one, that's a really strong one. But I don't know what they are. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm not a big research person. So, but yeah, it's not a lot. They don't want you. They're very careful. Like, there are people in the group, because there's all different people, and they say, like, how many times you've done it. And there are people who've done it 50, 70 times with this group, and they've never seen a bad trip. Like, the first time I was there, I did hear a guy, like, vomiting, but then I'm thinking he probably ate breakfast. Like, probably had a big dinner the night before, and you're not supposed to. They really, like, give you a very strict regimen of, like, what you're supposed to eat and what you're supposed to do, and at what time, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm a rule follower, so I follow the rules. So, I don't know, maybe had a big lunch. But no one's, like, walking around, like, it's not like that at all. It's not, they really want it to be safe, because, they're not scam artists. They want you to get as much out of it as possible. So yeah, I'll keep you guys posted about what happens. And yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just, which I know a lot of people are scared to do, but to be in it, be in the uncomfortableness. It's okay. You're sad. Be sad. Take the day off. Don't go out with your friends. Sit at home and examine it and sit in it and feel it. Because what you resist persists, they say, right? And I've always been like, well, if I'm depressed and I'm sad, I'm going to be sad. because I can't fight it. Because once I start fighting it, it gets worse. So a lot of times I'll be like, all right, you're upset today. Well, let's sit and cry for a little bit. And I sit and cry, and I'm like, all right, this is boring. And then I get up and I do something else. Not always. I think I've lost 15 pounds crying this year alone, in water weight. But that's okay. So.